Okay, so let's look at some examples using inequalities, interval notation, and a graph. A couple of examples here. Let's say that our solution to a problem involves numbers between 1 and 7, including 1 but not 7. We want to use inequalities, interval notation, and a graph to represent our solution. So keep in mind here that we're talking about a set of numbers between 1 and 7, including 1 but not 7. We want to use inequalities, interval notation, and a graph. Okay, first of all, using inequalities, now remember we're going to be talking about numbers between 1 and 7, so I'm going to use the x variable here to represent a set of numbers between 1 and 7. We want to include 1, so we're going to use less than or equals to, and then not 7, we would just use the less than symbol. Okay, so this would represent a set of all numbers between 1 and 7, including 1, but not including 7. Now, interval notation. Remember, interval notation uses square brackets and rounded brackets. Okay, so if we're going to represent numbers between 1 and 7, it kind of looks like a coordinate point, but it's actually a set of numbers. We want to include 1, so when you include a number, you want to use square brackets. We don't want to include 7, so we're going to use rounded brackets. So this is what it would look like using interval notation. Now, let me give you some other quick examples here. Let's say we wanted to include 1 and 7. Then we would use square brackets on both sides. If we didn't want to include 1 and 7, we would use rounded brackets on both sides. Okay, and then finally, let's use a graph to represent this set of numbers. Graphically here, what we can look at is just a number line, and then I would mark out the number 1 and the number 7. And I'm talking about numbers including 1, so I'm going to put a closed dot there. But I don't want to include 7, so I'm going to put an open dot there. And I'm talking about all numbers in between there. So this is what it would look like graphically. Okay, so that's one example, talking about numbers between 1 and 7, including 1, but not 7. The three different types that we've talked about using inequalities, interval notation, and a graph. Now, let's look at another example. Next, our solution involves all numbers greater than 5. Use inequalities, interval notation, and a graph to represent our solution. So now we're looking at numbers greater than 5. We're not actually including 5, all numbers greater than 5. So using inequalities, again I'm going to use the variable x, and all numbers greater than 5 would look like this. Okay, and typically you want to use the x variable, and your variable will come first, and then greater than 5. Now, how do we do this using interval notation? Well, using interval notation, what we want to do again is use our rounded brackets and square brackets. Because I'm not including 5, I'm going to use a rounded bracket, then the number 5, comma. Now, I'm talking about all numbers greater than that. So the way I represent that is using the infinity symbol, positive infinity. You can also use negative infinity if we were talking about numbers less than 5, for example. So this is the number 5, numbers greater than 5. I don't want to include it, so I have a rounded bracket, 5 comma infinity. It goes on forever, and then again I use a rounded bracket. So this would be using interval notation, and then finally again using a graph, number line. Here's the number 5, all numbers greater than 5. Again, I don't want to include the number 5, so I'm going to put an open dot there, and all numbers greater than. So this is what graphically would represent my solution. There you have it. That's using inequalities, interval notation, and a graph to represent a set of numbers.